Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we have our very first look at the Tier 5 Premium British Destroyer, the Gallant. Or the Gallant. The Gallant? No, I'm pretty sure it's the Gallant. Anyway, so with that being said, let's get to our commander. We're using Reginald Tyrwhitt. We've got Eric Bay and Jerzy Swirsky as our two commander inspirations. Got Subsurface Venture, Fragile Threat, Torpedo Safari, Smoke on the Water, and Unstoppable. Now, if we look at our actual loadout, we've got Aiming Systems Mod 1, which is a guarantee on everything, and we're using Propulsion Mod 2. Can kind of juggle that one if you want. Anyway, we don't have our flag on it, so we might as well do that, even though it'll get taken away from us anyway. We've got the permanent camo that comes on it. It's got 10,800 hit points. It's got 4 120mm guns that reload every 5.5 seconds. They turn in 18 seconds, which isn't horrendous, but it's not good either. They fire out to 9.5 kilometers with our build. Now, keep in mind, you could optimize the guns if you want. I'm just using my typical, concealment build, range on my torpedoes sort of build. So keep that in mind. Torpedoes, we got 8 of them, 2 launchers at 4 torps per launcher, 533 millimeters, reload in 122 seconds, or 122 seconds, 1 minute and 22 seconds. Maximum damage, 150, good God, I can't speak, 15,433 with a torpedo detectability range of 1.3, which is pretty mediocre. Torpedo range is only 8.7 knots, or God, I screw everything up. I am half asleep right now. I apologize. It has taken way too long to get a decent match to showcase to you guys. Torpedo speed is 65 knots, which is actually quick for the British destroyers, I believe. Somebody's gonna... I should just stop saying stuff like that because somebody's gonna call me out on it. Big yield, above average torpedo damage, so they hit harder than most of the torpedoes, at least at its tier. Sequential means you can launch tube-by-tube torpedoes. We'll get to see some of that in the video coming up. Gallant, one of the UK G-class destroyers of the interwar period, this ship participated in the Dunkirk evacuation when she rescued Allied troops from the beaches and harbor of Dunkirk. In total, she evacuated around 1,500 soldiers. On May 29th, she was damaged during a raid from German dive bombers, but still made it back to England under her own power. She entered service in 1935, and there were 24 of them built, or at least in the series. We'll just call it that. Anyway, let's take a look at the ship. It's not a bad... I kind of like the camo. It's kind of a nice camo. I like that. Other than that, there's not a whole lot, crazy about it. It's not a bad-looking destroyer, but it's not amazing looking either. So, with that being said, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so, I'm not gonna lie. We're on North, we're in a domination match, and we are in the Gallant. Now, I'll be real, this ship and me have not gotten along so far. Not that I have done particularly bad in the ship, it's not a bad ship. But it's not special either. Well, at least not in this game as far as how well it performs versus other ships that you could have that you don't have to pay for. Personally, again, unless you're somebody who values the ship for history and you want to collect it, or you're just a British collector or something like that, then I could understand maybe picking this up because of the history behind it. But other than that, it's really not that much of a... It's kind of bland. You've got mid-range torpedoes. With our build, they're a little bit longer. We've got 4 guns, and they reload relatively quickly, but not super quickly. And they don't pack much damage behind it. And on top of that, you don't have the most health in the world. You've got just a little bit less, or a little bit more health than like the Japanese destroyers do, which have the least amount of health. Because they are torpedo boats. They are not meant to get into fights, though. Once you get to tier 5 and up, the torpedo boats actually have pretty good guns, even though if they are really slow reloading. They have really good HE. We don't. We have British HE, which has a higher fire chance. And that's about it. Now, I will say this. I have gotten up close and personal with a few cruisers, and I have been able to citadel the snot out of them with the AP. So the AP is pretty good in this as well, especially close range. If you're getting into those kinds of engagements and you have to, you can get some serious damage out on cruisers. Now, you can see this Congo's kind of like making it look like he's going to skim the island, and that's kind of perfect. Because, as you can see, I'm thinking about dropping him in single file on him. And, yeah, he's not going to be too long for this world. Now, I originally knew that he was planning on putting himself up against that island, and I probably shouldn't have launched him all like that. I should have been a little more patient because, unfortunately, this first salvo is not going to do much of anything. And then, unfortunately, we run right into the Eagle, French destroyer that has a smoke screen. And, his name's Pilot Guy. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I think there's somebody that watches the channel that has that name. I could be wrong. Either way, I don't want to get in a fight with him because he has bigger guns than I do, and he has more health than I do, and it's not preferable either way. So we go ahead, turn out, get our smoke screen going. We're still trying to keep him spotted, but he pops his smoke screen as well. Now, while I'm falling back, I'm going to use the cover of my smoke screen to go back to try to re-attack the battleship that we already tried to introduce ourselves to once. And as you can see, he is kind of just sitting there not doing a whole heck of a lot. We want to try to get a shot on the Königsberg, but then we're like, nah, we've got 15 seconds left. We're just going to go ahead and park up and wait for this Congo. I don't think the Eagle's going to be too aggressive here. I think he's going to try to skirt around the outside. And I made the right call, because that is exactly what he was going to do. You'll see that in a little bit. But, yeah, I haven't had the most fun with this ship. It's like I said, it's not a bad ship. There's nothing particularly wrong with it. It's just not a whole lot of fun to play. So it's not got that whole, I need to go get this ship kind of value to me. But if you're a British collector, if you like the history behind the ship, obviously it was a historically significant ship, rescuing 1,500 sailors from Dunkirk. That was fantastic. I didn't know that. I learned something, so thank you, Wargaming, for that. But, yeah, I mean, as far as a ship goes, you can do as well, if not better, in tech tree ships that you don't have to pay for. So, again, it's going to be up to the user to decide, but you can see we actually land most of our torpedoes here, getting 3 floods and 4 torpedoes, and unfortunately, he gets away. And, yep, that's not preferable. So we're going to go ahead and try to set a fire. Now, he's already used his damage con on the flooding. So we use our fire, or we do set a fire on the very first salvo. But I want to disappear because I noticed that the Eagle's back, and he absolutely wallops me there, catches the rear of my ship, and he's going to get another good salvo on me. And you can see why I really don't want to get in a fight with the Eagle. It's not a good fight for me. So we're just trying to break engagement. We do manage to break engagement. That's why I wasn't firing my guns. I don't want to give myself a chance to get set on, or I don't want to give myself a chance to lose any more hit points to the Eagle. Especially when it's still early in the game. We're only 4.5 minutes in. And you can see I'm trying here. I'm like, I'll go ahead and launch these just to make sure that if I do miss him, or we don't get him with the guns here in a second, that we at least catch him with the torpedoes. Except this time, it's almost like he's anticipating my torpedoes, because he comes charging out like a madman in front of everybody. And, yeah, kind of ruins my plan there. But it is what it is, as we're still getting fire damage on him. All of his heel's gone. So he's now going to be hopefully getting set on fire here. Come on. And we actually don't get the fire, and they actually get the kill. It's unfortunate, because we did most of the damage. But he's dead. That's the main thing. Now, you can probably tell by my voice I'm pretty tired at this point. Not gonna lie. I've played this game for a couple hours now trying to get a game that I thought was a good one to showcase this ship. And this is what we ended up with. I've had better games as far as damage goes. I've had more exciting games. But this kind of gives you a good idea of what you can expect when you start unloading the guns, what you can expect from the torpedoes as far as damage, and then obviously what happens when you get shot. This thing does not take hits well, especially high explosive from other destroyers. So if you're going to be taking hits, you better make sure that you're hitting better than they are. You got to try to dodge as best you can, kind of like in the Lightning. The Lightning is fully capable of holding its own in a battle or in a firefight, and this is no joke. I've done it. I've managed to take out Jaguars. I've taken out Icarus. I've taken multiple destroyers out in back-to-back engagements with this thing. It's not like it doesn't win a fight. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if both players are equally skilled, this thing really suffers in the getting hit department. And as you can see, we've taken a lot more damage from this Eagle. I will say this, if you do get into a fight, I've noticed that if I turn away, sometimes that those high explosive rounds, not every time, but sometimes they don't do anything. They hit you and they do nothing. So maybe there's a problem with the hitbox on the back of the ship. I don't know. Maybe somebody can look into that from Wargaming. But yeah, I've noticed that if you turn away from an engagement, you have more of a chance in this ship to just not take any damage, even though you're taking hits. Maybe it was just that I'm damage saturated at the time and I didn't realize it. It's possible. But I've also had both of my torpedo tubes knocked out in one hit from a Mayhan, and he only hit me with 2 shells. Yeah, you want to talk about frustrating. Here's the best part. I had just devastating striked a Mutsu for 34,000 damage. And then I got in a fight with two destroyers, and as I take 2 rounds, I lost both of my my torpedo tubes. That was rough. But as you can see, we managed to get a little trade, eye for an eye. Eagle goes down to me, I go down to it. It was meant to be. But there's only one guy left, and that is the enemy battleship, the Bayern. And so we're going to follow our team here and just kind of talk for a minute. Hopefully you guys are enjoying. Now, this video is coming out at 7 in the morning, and if you guys like it, you might want to stick around because the Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts coming out at noon, and it's going to be a good one. It's the Taskmaster Tuesdays, where we are doing a collab with Stealth 17 Gaming, History Guy Gaming, Brother Monroe, and Every Day's Different. So it's going to be fun. Basically, they come up with a challenge, and we have to adhere to the challenge and try our best to complete the challenge or do the best that we can in the challenge. And everybody just designs their own thing. We don't know what each other are designing, so that's part of the fun. And then most points wins the challenge, right? And it helps all of our channels because I get to show myself to an audience that normally wouldn't watch, being a PC audience. Though I know there are several of you who are from PC World of Warships that actually watch my channel, which I appreciate very much. You guys are awesome. And that's the beauty of YouTube, man. Once you find a channel that you enjoy, it don't matter if it's console or PC or if it's PlayStation or Xbox or I just enjoy YouTube channels, man. And if the person that I'm watching is fun, I don't care what they're doing. I watch them do all kinds of stuff. So I've just been doing some filler. Hopefully you guys haven't noticed too much, but this Fubuki here is a little tentative to pull out in front of this Bayern, which is kind of funny because it's a Fubuki. It should have really amazing concealment and should be able to just get up in here and launch its torps and not even be seen. But because it stops here and is kind of waiting for this guy, the Bayern actually ends up turning directly towards him, and now he's in a world of trouble because Bayern is definitely able to spot him, and wait for it. He gets his smoke screen up, but the Bayern was ready for it anyway and punches him right in the kisser, taking him and leaving him with just 190 hit points. But doing what the Fubuki and the Akatsuki are very, very good at, just crapping out torpedoes everywhere. Very nasty torpedoes. And he's using the guns to the best he can. Now he's got to be careful. He can get detected by this Bayern by firing his guns if he's not careful. Now he gets some hits on his torpedoes, and Bayern is not long for this world. Or is he? Refusing to die is something that the Bayern is very good at. Now the Bayern actually made a huge mistake there. He'd have waited half a second longer. he'd have been able to detect this guy and shoot him. Because all he has to do is keep charging towards him, and he gets within 2 kilometers, and guaranteed acquisition kicks in, and he would detect him. Right now, this Fubuki's detected. But unfortunately, he gets around the corner from the Bayern, and, you know, it's been a little while since he fired his torps. Guess what, guys? He's got them back. Just like the Japanese, man. They just always have torpedoes, and you never get away with it. And he launches his torps. One gets absorbed by the island, and the other 2 land home, and Bayern goes to the bottom. Well done, Fubuki. Even if it was a bit of a butt clincher that didn't need to be for you. We end up with 62,000 hit points, 3rd on the team. Not an amazing game by any stretch, but a good showcase of the ship. So if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.